What is up, everybody? We are here with our Week 12, Part 1 preview. It's Black Friday, so it's a little different because we had 3 games yesterday. The Black Friday game is currently going on right now. It's 3-0 with looks like 12 and a half minutes left in the second. So that's the Jets and Dolphins. Brian, do you like it when there's like all these games, 4 games before the Sunday? Do you like that? Does it make your decisions easier? Does it discourage you if you're down already, or are you happy if you're already up, type of thing?
I don't know. It's still kind of new. Well, I guess Thanksgiving's usually there's always games, so I don't know. I don't really care for the Friday game. I feel like the NFL takes over too much of my life already.
Yeah,
but it's not like they're forcing it on me. It's not like I have to watch it, like I just want to. So then it's like, well, I guess I'm not doing anything all weekend, like
it's Monday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever really experienced like being down so much or up like whenever I'm up by a lot, I never think like, oh, I got this in the bag. It definitely makes me feel better. But I don't know if I've ever been down enough to where it's like, oh, I need to like swap this player for this player kind of a thing. Shoot for that home run. I usually don't have those options, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure. It is a little weird. And it kind of a weird time too. Like 2:00 for me. Was it 12 o'clock the game started for you?
Yeah.
Just kind of like a weird, like, doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
Maybe push it back to the evening or something. But yeah, who knows? More NFL. But I wish it was a better game. Maybe it'll be good. We'll see. We're here. We're going to preview. We're not going to talk about that game. We're going to talk about the 12 games on Sunday. We're going to talk about 6 of them in today's video, starting off with the Steelers at the Bengals. I feel like this week is interesting because there's no teams on byes, and there's a lot of like tough decisions, it feels like. One of them a couple of them are in this game. We'll start with the Steelers. And, I think the big thing here is we don't really know what the change of offensive coordinator is going to bring for the Steelers. So that being said, I mean, obviously you're not starting Pickett. I want to not start Najee Harris if I can. How are you feeling about the running backs, Najee and Warren? Who do you prefer between the two? Again, this is in half PPR. And would you start? Are either one of them kind of like a no-brainer to you?
I don't know about no-brainers, but I mean, given the matchup against Cincy, like it might be kind of obviously like Cincy doesn't have Joe Burrow, so I'm not really sure what to expect from that offense necessarily. Like I don't know if it's going to be like, oh, Steelers have to like throw to keep up kind of a thing. Like it's possible, but I think that I like Warren over Najee because it seems like he's been doing more with less these last few weeks, and he's still involved enough. So I'd say Warren is an okay, like low end number 2 running back, but I think you can flex Najee if you want to because he's going to get around 15-ish touches or more. So what he does with those, like it might not be pretty, like. Definitely don't go in with high expectations, but I think they're both fine to start. Like I wouldn't say they're must starts, but Warren over Najee kind of on that lower end of the tiers.
It's tough because like I know Jaylen Warren had a really big game the last couple games. Last week he didn't really get much more involvement than what he's kind of been all year. 9 carries, 3 targets, I think like 45% of the snaps. Just double checking that 45%. So like his involvement wasn't anymore. He didn't get more. He just had a big run, which he's capable of. But yeah, it's always tough. I do prefer Warren. I agree with you there. Cincy seems like a pretty good matchup. I mean, they've given up 4 touchdowns since week 8. So 11, 10, 9, last 4 weeks, 4 touchdowns. Singletary ran for 150 on them. McCaffrey had a good game. Gus Edwards had 2 touchdowns. Keaton Mitchell had 8 for 33, which isn't great. But, yeah, I agree with you. Maybe it comes into play like we talked about it, 4 games under away are going to be done by Sunday. Like, what if you played Dak and McCaffrey, and you're down 60 points already or 70 points or whatever you're down. Maybe like you don't want to play Najee because there's not a whole lot of upside there. Or vice versa. If you're up and you're just like, hey, I need a safe 10 points, throw Najee in there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I do kind of want to hold out and just see what the new offensive coordinator does here. And kind of with the receivers too, like how are you feeling about Deontay and George Pickens? Like just kind of hold if you can, not start, because they've been really bad.
Yeah. I think Deontay, like you can still kind of like throw in your lineup as kind of a number 3 guy. Like the targets are still there. They're just, they're coming from Kenny Pickett, so they're not great. He has had a couple of bad games in a row. But I mean, that's kind of the nature of the position. Like he is like a volume receiver. Deontay is, but I think he's still kind of he's like definitely like the main guy in their passing game. So I think you can still start him as a number 3 guy, number 3 receiver, and be okay with it. I don't know how many people are going to have the luxury of not starting him if you have him, but like it's definitely possible, because we went a stretch without having him at all, and then you kind of haven't had him the last couple of weeks. But I think Deontay's still fine. George Pickens, I'm not starting at all. Like I'll find a better option.
Yeah, I would. If you were thinking about dropping Pickens, I would hold on. Just because, like, what if the new offensive coordinator and he gets more involved, and they need to see what they have in Kenny Pickett and kind of make a decision here on if he's the quarterback of the future or not. Like, they're not really just let him like sling the ball around. I know they're fighting for a playoff spot, but yeah, I kind of agree with you. Deontay, kind of a low end, not a whole lot of upside, wide receiver 3, and then I'm benching Pickens and Freiermuth maybe stash if you're streaming tight ends. Maybe he becomes a guy you can rely on, but definitely not starting.
I think Freiermuth. Yeah. I think desperation only. Like, I don't know. It seems like there's enough tight ends out there that are kind of like doing well, but people tend to like hoard them also, the tight end position, because it's like, oh, I finally got a guy, and then there's another guy kind of a thing. Like, I don't know how many people are flexing a tight end necessarily, but I feel like there's a lot of people. Like half the teams in your league probably have 2, so we're talking about like 18, 20 tight ends on rosters kind of thing. And it's like, if you just lost Mark Andrews, you probably didn't have a second one. So like he might be desperation start. Like if you need to, I'm not looking forward to it for sure, but I'd say, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably just throw in like a Parham or Everett and just hope I get a touchdown, a player on a better offense. But I don't mind stashing Freiermuth. The Bengals side, I think, is easy. You were kind of talking about it. Jake Browning is going to be the starter, but T. Higgins is ruled out, I believe, is what I saw earlier. It's Chase and Mixon to me. Like both those guys, I'm still starting.
Yeah,
I'm tempering expectations with Chase. Like think of him like Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams with Aiden O'Connell, like that type of production where hopefully a lot of volume, but maybe it's like 8 for 80, and maybe a touchdown. So are you kind of there with those two?
Yeah. Yes. You're starting Chase and Mixon, temper your expectations a little bit. But I mean, the offense is going to run through those 2 guys. So, and everyone else, I think maybe you're going to start Tyler Boyd as like a super desperation. Like he's the only guy on the wire kind of a thing. Like, I don't know, but I wouldn't, I mean, with no bye weeks, you have to be in very bad shape to be starting Tyler Boyd. Yeah.
With, it could plan out, but Jake Browning, you just want to, Chase can take 80 yards to the house, which Tyler Boyd can't. So, it's Mixon and Chase. And yeah, Mixon's been really good this year. RB11, he's had 4 straight weeks of double-digit points, and 3 of those 4 over 15 in half PPR. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty easy one. And, yeah, just temper your expectations with Chase And we'll just kind of move on to the Jags and Texans. Who do you think wins this game?
I picked the Jags in our pool just to be. I thought it might be a little slightly contrarian. Texans have been playing really well. The Jags have two in general, like over the entire season as a team, not necessarily fantasy. So I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to this to see who actually comes out on top. I hope it's a good game.
Yeah, I agree. Jags are favored by 1.5. 47.5 is the over-under, so a good over-under. We'll start with the Jags. Are you back to starting Lawrence at this point? Like, unless you have, obviously one of the studs, or like, are you doing? It's a little easier because you had guys like Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Tua is already playing. Like those guys are already playing, so I feel like he's kind of in that range. So a lot of people probably have already made their decision, but like Trevor Lawrence or Josh Dobbs, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert versus Baltimore, where are you going?
Yeah, the Herbert one is interesting because I think, like he's definitely like at this point in their careers, like Herbert is like the better quarterback, but he's down weapons, and the Jags have like the healthy weapons. So in that case, like I think I'd still start Herbert just because of like the upside. That might be one of those guys like Lawrence is the more safer play depending on like who you played against, or I don't know. I guess that would come into effect super flex more than anything.
Texans, I'm just looking at it now, like they gave up 330 yards to Ritter, 350 to Carr, 235 to Bryce Young, probably one of his better games this year. Baker 265, Joe Burrow 350. Those are the last 5-6 games, and then 215 to Kyler last week, but obviously 50 yards on the ground. So I might lean Lawrence, actually, just seeing him play better. And like you said, like the Zay Jones is back. Does that kind of open up this offense a little bit? Like, but I'm not going to, fault you for starting Herbert just because of the matchup. Herbert against the Ravens. So, ETN is a start, even though he's been struggling, but still starting him. Houston's actually kind of good against the run, but I don't think we really need to spend much time on him. Ridley, Kirk, do you believe in like Ridley's big games have come when Zay Jones is out there? Like, do you believe in that? Is he back to you're throwing him in there because of the boom potential?
I think you're starting both those guys. I am interested to see if that narrative holds up with the Zay Jones opening things up for Ridley, because it definitely seems like it's pretty spot on actually. So it's kind of like, yeah, like I think Ridley and Kirk are easy starts this week. Where did I put them at? I put them kind of as like low end number 2 guys, basically. Like if that's like your expectation, I think you'll be okay. Oh, and what I was going to say about the Jags in general too is like, I think that like given the way the Texans are playing right now, like I think they're going to have to. Like I think it is going to run. The offense will run through the passing game, and it will be kind of on Lawrence and the receivers to like, if they are going to win that game, like it's going to be on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, no, I agree with you. I like both those guys. We can talk next week if Christian Kirk has another bad game with Zay Jones in there, and is it now it's starting to become a trend type of thing. But I still think there's not enough. We don't have enough evidence or sample size is not big enough to make that determination. And I think both of them should be in there. And then Evan Ingram, he's been kind of bad lately. If he's your tight end, I'm still throwing him in there. Like, if you want to pick up someone else, fine, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
So, on the Texan side, I just saw come across Noah Brown's out. Stroud, I do think something interesting on Stroud is you look at his last, since week 5, he's had 1, 2, 3 games I would call kind of a disappointment, like 15 or lower. The one massive game, and then 20 points and 18.3. But it just happens that those 41, 20, 18.3 the last 3 weeks. Are you just throwing him in your lineup at this point? And you think you can get a boom game? Would you play him over like Justin Fields or Kyler Murray, or are you going to lean the upside of those two guys?
Yeah, I think I'm starting Fields. They're playing Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll start Fields over Stroud. And who was the other one? Kyler. I'll start Stroud over Kyler. So, yeah, I'd go Fields, Stroud, Kyler there. Yeah, I just think that the thing about Stroud, I was kind of looking at that too. It's like, he's not necessarily like lighting it up. The way we like that big game he had is kind of like, I don't know, clouding the judgment a little bit. Like, I think he's an awesome guy that you got off the waiver wire most likely, or you drafted him as your number 2 guy as a backup, and you're really happy with that, and you can definitely start him most weeks. But I'm not putting him in like the elite tier yet. I'm not saying he has like the I definitely, like you just said, like Fields and I'd say Kyler, they have the more upside than him, just because we've seen it more, but yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with, like, if you actually have those 2 guys on your team, like, good luck making a decision, because like we kind of just laid it out there for you, upside versus kind of like probably a safer floor.
Yeah. I like your ranking there. Fields for the upside, Stroud has upside too, obviously, and then I put Kyler last. Jacksonville, 4 of their last 6 games have given up 300 yards or more passing, and then the other 2 in which they didn't, it was against the Steelers guys and Will Levis. So Brock Purdy put up 296, so just under 300. Derek Carr, Minshew, and Allen all put up over 300 yards, or 296 or higher. So I like that, and yeah, hopefully this game is a shootout. And for that reason, I'm still starting Nico, and obviously Tank Dell. Both those guys are starting, and Dalton Schultz. And I guess we need to talk about the running backs. I'm just double checking with Damian Pierce, but is it Singletary to you? Like, they can't go away from that now? Like, he has to be thrown in there? Or are you hesitant if Damian Pierce is coming back?
I don't know. Like, I think if Pierce is going to play, which I think he was still limited in practice yesterday.
He was full all week, so.
Oh, he's full? I thought he was limited. But yeah, so I think that you just take the gift that you got of a good couple weeks from Singletary. Hopefully you started him knowing Pierce was going to be out, and he was way better than we thought he was going to be. And then just kind of move away from that if you can. Like, you didn't draft Devin Singletary. Like, you definitely, like, he was either a waiver wire guy or a very late round or later round guy, and just kind of like take your 2 games and kind of like start someone else. Like, I'm not starting either one of those guys until I see what it actually looks like when they're both there and healthy.
Yeah, that's fair. Especially if you really need a win this week. If you can survive a loss or 5 points from Singletary, then you could throw him out there. But I generally agree with that. And yeah, the receivers, Nico and Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz. I'm starting all those guys. So,
sure, yeah.
We'll move on to the Bucs at the Colts. Colts are favored by 2.5, which I was a little surprised about. I mean, they are at home, so maybe that's why. 44.5 is the over/under. Bucs side of things, like, I'm okay with starting Baker. I have Geno and Baker in our league that we're in together, and I chose Baker over Geno, obviously, because Geno playing the 49ers yesterday. So again, a lot of these like Sam Howell, Tua, Goff, Purdy. So that's 4 quarterbacks that are kind of ranked in that like 9 to 15 range that I've already played. So I feel like most people made the decision, but I'm fine streaming Baker over guys like Minshew, Stafford, Carr. And it's really a coin flip with those guys, but I'm fine with it. Anything to say on Baker there?
No, yeah, I think that's pretty good. Like I don't want to start him if I can avoid it, but yeah, I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe for like, give me 250 and one, and 6 point per passing touchdown. I can live with that. So, Rashad White, I'm starting. Mike Evans, I'm starting. I have him ranked pretty high. Godwin, where are you at with Godwin? He's kind of he's just not catching touchdowns, like a good matchup.
Yeah, I think he's kind of in that boat where he's definitely not an easy start, and I feel like he's like kind of moved down in people's like in terms of their depth chart, like on their own personal fantasy teams, But I think you can still put him out there. He's obviously the number 2 on the team. I think if you're definitely hoping for those touchdowns that seem to be so elusive, but just given his track record in the past, I feel like you can definitely still start him as like a number 3 receiver or low end or high end flex, basically, and be okay with it.
Godwin or Addison with no Jefferson?
Addison.
Godwin or Deontay?
Godwin.
Okay.
That one's actually tough. Like, I'd lean more towards Deontay in PPR, but that half PPR, that makes it really tough. That's really close.
Yeah, kind of a coin flip. Sutton, You believe in the touchdown every week, basically?
Godwin, I mean, I do believe in it because it's been happening, but I will stick with Godwin.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. He is getting the touchdown. So, yeah, I'm kind of there with you. It's not exciting. If you have any like high upside guys versus Godwin and you're down, you can throw them in there, But like maybe the guy we're going to talk about with the Saints, which will in the next matchup. But and yeah, Kate Otten, I don't really want to start. But again, if you're streaming tight ends, it's not terrible. So, Colts side, it's Taylor, Pittman. Really, only the question here is Josh Downs. Would you do Josh Downs or Godwin? Who would you start there in half PPR?
So Downs has been out for a couple of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now he's back, isn't that?
Yeah, right? I think he's off the injury report.
Yeah, he actually. Yeah, so I know he seemed like a good match with Baker, or sorry, with Minshew. So yeah, I honestly, I might throw in Josh Downs over Godwin depending on like where I'm at. Like, it seems like he's drawing targets like at the same, if not better rate in the games where he was healthy. So I like that. I like Josh Downs over Godwin.
Yeah. Downs before his injury with Minshew, the 5 weeks leading up to his injury, he was averaging about 7 targets a game, 5 catches, and about 65 yards, and then a half a touchdown, so a touchdown every other game. So yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like Downs there too. Maybe a little more, maybe a slightly more upside, maybe not actually. Maybe Godwin has more, but they both really good matchups. So it's honestly like a coin flip with those two, both kind of low end to mid wide receiver 3s. Yeah, I think just a couple more. Like, would you go Downs, the safety of Downs versus like Drake London and Amari Cooper? Were those guys I feel like could give you 1 point, and I don't think Downs is going to give you that.
Yeah, I think I might start Amari Cooper over Downs. I don't know. I'm just kind of like curious to see, like, I mean, they're playing. Amari Cooper's playing Denver. Like, I just think the matchup. Well, I guess the Tampa Bay matchup's not too bad either. But yeah, I don't know. I think I like Cooper still. And London, I haven't even been paying attention to what he's been doing.
They were on a bye, but now they're back to Ritter, so it's like, his last 3 games, he's had 6 for 54, 5 for 55, 3 for 36, no touchdowns. He's only had 2 touchdowns this year, so
Yeah, so you got to go with Downs in that case.
Yeah, I agree. Saints and Falcons is our next game here. Over under is 41.5. Saints are favored by 1.5. This is for the division, I believe. The winner of this is leading. Well, Saints are in first. If Falcons win, they'll be in first, which is kind of crazy. Saints side of things, I think Carr's playing, so we're going to assume that he is playing. Obviously, Kamara is a start. Olave is a start. Michael Thomas is on IR. I think it makes Rashid Shaheed kind of an interesting play, especially if you need to chase points. Because he could have, 3 for 150 and a touchdown or two, like a desperation, I need a big game type of flex. Like if you're comparing like Shaheed versus Downs or Godwin and you're projected to lose and you're down 60 points, I'm just going to throw Shaheed in there and hope I get a massive game. Anything else either on Shaheed or the Saints in general? I think they're pretty easy.
No, yeah, I think that's about right. Maybe stash A.T. Perry at the end of your bench to see if he gets more involved because he played a lot more snaps last week or the last game 2 weeks ago when Thomas went down. So who knows? But yeah, definitely don't start him.
Yeah. No, I agree with the stash for sure. Someone said that A.T. Perry was playing more like Shaheed, and Shaheed was playing more like Michael Thomas once the Michael Thomas got injured. So it'd be interesting to see how they're used. But I would definitely stash him, pick him up in Dynasty if he's not already picked up. Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr and Taysom Hill, I'm probably still rolling with Taysom Hill, especially with Carr back. So if he's your tight end, I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, and honestly, like Taysom Hill might have that sneaky, like what if they limit Carr on like what they have him to do, and like like he can easily play quarterback like a few times here and there, like we've seen him do a million times, like. Or like, what if something else? Like, what if Carr re-aggravates his injury or something, and Taysom Hill is the quarterback? Well, it might be Jameis, I guess, but I don't know. I could definitely see Taysom Hill getting a little bit more play this week than we were accounting for necessarily.
If I'm the Saints and Jameis is my quarterback and I'm anywhere near the red zone, I'm putting Taysom Hill in.
Yeah,
don't turn the ball over. So
yeah, no interceptions.
Yeah. I still like Taysom Hill. He had a bad game last week, but again, his boom games. I'll take the bad games if he's going to boom and give me 2 touchdowns or something. So,
yeah.
Falcons. We just talked about Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I don't even know what to think anymore. Saints are, I think, a really good team against the tight ends. They give up let me double check. That's Jacksonville. They've been 8th most points to tight end, so that's changed. They give up 20 points back-to-back to Kmet and Hawkinson. What do you say about these 2 pass catchers? Like, I don't even know what to say about them. I don't want to start either one, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it just depends on, like, where Pitts is. Like, it depends on who you picked up off the waiver to replace him with, I guess, like, if you're feeling good with them, or if you got really lucky with like a Laporta or something like that, that's obviously like super like obvious. But I don't know. Like I feel like we haven't talked about Kyle Pitts for a while. I know we missed the last couple of weeks with family stuff and everything. So I don't know. I feel like it's been like a month since we mentioned Kyle Pitts' name, and I don't know. It might just be. Like where it's like, yeah, I guess he's fine, like.
Yeah, I mean, like guys like Evan Ingram, Taysom Hill, Njoku, Kmet, I'm starting over Pitts. If you're talking about like Isaiah Likely versus Pitts or Cade Otton versus Pitts, I'll probably just lean Pitts just for the potential upside. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so hard. If you've held on to him at this point,
Yeah, that's kind of. I think he's kind of an easy one. If you're starting him or not, you're not going to feel good about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And London. We kind of talked about where we think he is, like very low end number 3 flex territory.
Yeah, and I think the Saints defense is still good. They give the 9th fewest points to wide receivers. They haven't given up. I believe this is half PPR. They haven't given up over 15 points to a receiver since week 7. That was Christian Kirk at 16. If you go back even further, they haven't given up more than 17 points to a receiver, which is a lot in half PPR, but they're pretty good at shutting guys down, I believe. So, I just want to avoid Drake London, especially if I really need a win. Bijan, I'm still starting. I'm never going to bench Bijan, I'm just not.
Yeah, let's hope what happened in his last game is like a sign of things to come. It's like, dude, just give this guy the ball. Like, you drafted him so high, like, give him the ball, let him make it. Like, he was a big part of like why they were able to stay competitive with the Cardinals, like, who won with that walk-off field goal. So
yeah, and they did give him 20 plus carries last game, so it's good to see. Looks like Tua threw a pick 6, maybe. Yeah, it looks like it. Anyways, we'll go on. We got 2 more matchups. We have the Patriots at the Giants. Over under. Man, the over unders this year are terrible. 33.
Wait, are we starting anyone in this game? Saquon?
Well, Saquon and Ramondre, I'd say.
Sorry.
No, you're right. It's kind of what it is. It's Saquon, it's Ramondre. Giants, I guess, I think I heard it on the CBS podcast that they give up like a crazy amount of receiving yards to running backs. So I'm starting both of them. And that's it, I think. I mean, Demario Douglas is kind of like, I throw him in like the Josh Downs, kind of like Chris Godwin, maybe a tick lower just because the offense in general, less chance for a touchdown. But yeah, that's really it for this whole game. It's the 2 running backs, unless I'm missing someone.
I don't know. I'm trying to look at the team right now. It's like, do I care about any of these guys? Like,
I mean, there's no receiver. There's no receiver on the Giants. Waller's out. You're not starting the quarterbacks. Again, it's Demario Douglas. Hunter Henry, if you're still holding on to him, I guess. Like, I don't know.
No, you're not. No one's doing that. No one did that. Or, I mean, someone did, but, why did you do that?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, that's easy. I guess we could just move on. We can spend a minute on that and just move on to the Panthers and the Titans. No, never mind. I was thinking about because Tommy DeVito actually looked good. I was thinking for the Jets, dude, they should just run a wildcat offense, and just snap the ball to Breece Hall every time, and like have Dalvin Cook and Israel Abanikanda in the backfield as well, and that's how they should run their offense. But anyways, they're it's 10-6 though, and it's almost halftime, so they're hanging in there. Anyways, Panthers Titans, kind of another crappy game. 36.5 over under. Titans are 3.5 favorites. We'll start with the Panthers. Is it just Thielen? That's it. Right?
Yeah, it is. Like these. I'm glad we put these 2 at the end, so we can kind of wash the taste out of our mouth after talking about them. Like, it's like, I think, you're starting Thielen and nobody else. Well, what about Chuba Hubbard?
No,
what is he? I obviously don't pay attention. No.
You're not starting them because they're back to like a 50-50 split. So it was looking like Chuba was taking over 65% for a couple weeks in a row, and then they're back to 50-50. So now they're just, you don't want either one, start either one.
Yeah,
so it's just Thielen for the Panthers. And then the Titans, the only lock for me for the Titans is Henry. Still starting him. Yeah. This is the matchup to do well. I think the Panthers are worst against the run. So I like Henry this week. Hopkins, what are we thinking? Like, was he like a boom bust receiver at this point?
Honestly, I think you can still start Hopkins. Like, he's obviously the alpha in the and Treylon Burks got ruled out again. Not that anyone cares about that. Dude hasn't even played. So, but I mean, he's obviously he's all they've got for the most part. And he's still getting a decent amount of targets. Not last week, but the 2 weeks prior. He's still getting basically double-digit targets. from Levis. So I don't know. Like, you're not going to feel good about it, but given the track record and basically the last man standing, like, I think you can start him as a number 3 receiver.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I shouldn't have shortchanged him because 20 targets in those 2 weeks, and then last week he had 5. Will Levis threw the ball 17 times, so he had a 33% target share, and he had a touchdown and 59 yards. So,
and honestly, like, if you're really like, because I'm actually probably going to do this, not actually this week, so I shouldn't say that, but maybe Chigokonkwo is like a worthy, if you're like in tight end hell right now, like maybe stash him at least. Like, you could definitely do worse with some of the guys that are out there. Like, and given like what I just said about Hopkins being like basically the only guy there, it's like last week was bad. The 2 prior weeks, he basically got 10 targets over 2 games. So it's like, 5 apiece. It was 6 and 4 really, but like, maybe you can stash him. Maybe he'll become a desperation. Like, I can start him in PPR or something like that. I'm not looking forward to it at all though.
No, definitely not. But maybe for deeper leagues. Then Tajay Spears should still be rostered for sure. Not only I think he's a good player, but also they have a really nice schedule for running back. So if something does happen to Henry, like, Spears could win you. He could be like Cam Akers last year. He could win you leagues. So if you can afford to hold on to him for sure. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's nice to have those 2 games at the end. We can brush through them in 5 minutes. So that is all. We'll be back with the other 6 games, the 5 more on Sunday, and then the Monday night game, which I feel like we've been seeing way too many Chargers in primetime and the Bears in primetime. Like, why are those 2 teams freaking out? I mean, I kind of understand the Chargers, but they need to flex those damn games. But any last words there, Brian? Or
no. I think maybe we can touch on it a little more in our next video, but just about maybe throwing some, like, I guess a lot of trade deadlines are coming up, or most of them have passed. I don't know. Definitely something we probably should have mentioned last week if we had recorded, but to check that kind of stuff, start building up your team for kind of some tips for that, like building up your team for playoffs, or, how to make it into the playoffs, like what sort of things you should be doing. But I don't know. Outside of that, because I feel like that's all I've been thinking about the last like 10 days is like, all right, how do I set myself up, kind of a thing. But I think the wheels are kind of
running backs.
Yeah.
Don't discount defenses, because when you play playoff teams, everyone should have a good team. So like a defense could be the difference maker there. So I agree with that. But we're gonna finish up there. As always, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys